All right, so I am I'm trying to finish the top 25 right now as I project it. LSU. So one thing that is interesting that happens at this time of year is the AP voters, and this drives Bud absolutely crazy, are influenced by the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, and the College Football Playoff Selection Committee is influenced by the AP voters. Creates this sort of echo chamber of groupthink that can lead to very frustrating results. So LSU is number 15 in last week's AP poll. They were number 10 in the College Football Playoff Selection Committee rankings after beating Alabama in overtime. Where do you think LSU is going to be?
It'll be 5 in both.
In the AP or in the playoff
AP.
rankings?
We're going to do AP. Well, I mean, we can do both. I mean, this conversation.
They're about to be the same.
They're about to be number 5.
Behind Michigan or behind TCU?
It better be TCU, but it might be Michigan. Like, I think it'll be Georgia, Ohio State. Well, actually, it could be both Michigan and TCU. I mean, how far do you think they're going to knock Tennessee down?
I've got Tennessee dropping to 5.
So
you got Tennessee staying above Oregon?
Yes.
But Oregon played in the afternoon, so they'll have seen them. Oh, wait, they're playing Colorado, so no, they won't.
I've got LSU coming in behind Oregon at number 7 in the AP poll.
Yeah, you're right.
With TCU at 4. So I've got Georgia 1, and like part of my lead is that Georgia's going to do a stranglehold on the number 1 spot. Because the last couple of weeks, we've had those number 1 votes where it was last week, Georgia 30, Tennessee 18, Ohio State 15. Tennessee and Ohio State tied for second in the AP poll, but Tennessee had a slight lead in first place votes. I have to assume that given the way that things went for Ohio State in a 21-7 win at Northwestern, that Tennessee's 18 first place votes are almost entirely going to be going to the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia takes hold of number 1. There is no debate there, and probably jumps to number 1 in the CFP rankings as well. Ohio State at 2. Michigan moves up to 3. I've got TCU moving from 7 to 4 in the AP poll. Tennessee drops to 5. Oregon moves up to 6. And then I've got LSU at 7.
You want to take?
Yeah, of course. That is the reason why our microphones are on, Tom.
Good point. I was going to wait until we talked about the games, but you're talking about Ohio State will be 2, Michigan will be 3. Michigan should be higher than Ohio State at this point, if I'm being honest. I think they're a better football team right now.
Doesn't the Notre Dame become a quality win for Ohio State now?
Yes.
I guess, but just watching Ohio State in its last 3 games, and like I know today's game was played in a crazy kind of weather, and they're dealing with injuries. They didn't have Henderson or JSN again today. But like offensively, man, they're not crisp. They can't run the ball. They were able to run the ball early in the season when they weren't really facing any decent defenses. They weren't able to run it against Iowa. They struggled to run it against Penn State. They couldn't run the ball today against Northwestern. It's just they kind of look soft on the offensive line. And I'm just sitting there looking at that matchup when they play Michigan at the end of the year, assuming they're both still undefeated, and I think they will be. I'm kind of leaning toward Michigan again.
I don't know, because nobody's really running the ball on Ohio State for the most part. So Michigan's going to have to throw it in Columbus, I think. I'm not leaning Michigan yet. I probably wouldn't lay, 10 points though.
Yeah.
Did you get eyes on Michigan Rutgers?
Very few.
No.
Okay, me neither. That's a
Rutgers blocked a punt. I do know that, and that was a score, and that's kind of how they got up early. And yeah,
I was live blogging LSU Alabama, so it was very much just keep an eye on that one. But once it
got out of hand, I kicked it off too.
Later.
Yeah, thank you, Michigan. I appreciated that. I had 9 games on my watch list for the night slate. I was bananas trying to keep hold of it all. And honestly, I just had to let go of the NFL Network game of the night, Houston and SMU, because there were too many touchdowns there. Too many touchdowns, too many commercial breaks. Sorry. Can't keep hold of that. all through the way. Elsewhere in the top 25, as we continue on this before we go conference by conference, I do near the back end of the rankings. I got to think Coastal Carolina is going to finally break in. 8-1. They won on Thursday night against App State. Like, they were the last one-loss team remaining that was not ranked. Liberty will move up after being 23 in last week's poll. Also 8-1 with the 21-19 win against Arkansas. I do not think Kansas State falls out of the polls. Tom, I do not think Illinois falls out of the poll even after what?
It might. It's Illinois. If it loses, they'll knock it out. And honestly, after the way they played today, I won't be upset if they are.
So I've got Oklahoma State falling out. Fair?
Yeah, Wake falling.
Yes.
Wake falling out, Syracuse falling out, Oregon State falling out.
Mm-hmm. So
And honestly,
Replaced by Coastal.
Cincinnati gets back in.
What?
why?
No, come on. No,
Oh,
Chip. Like
Kentucky,
Texas, Florida State,
Notre Dame.
So
Notre Dame, Kentucky. I don't know Kentucky.
I'm not. You can't do Kentucky. You can't do Kentucky ahead of Cincinnati. Cincinnati
Cincinnati last week.
Cincinnati was number 20 last week before they lost to UCF by 4 points.
Yeah, and then
Yeah, but they got wildly outplayed. Not that voters watch, but like
Voters didn't watch, and they were still. So what did I have? They were still the 29th team in voting points last week, even after the defeat.
And
Cincinnati isn't good at all.
You think they're
like not a top 50 team.
You think when their box score scouting for the bottom of their ballots in the morning, they're going to be like, "Ooh, Cincinnati beat Navy 20-10. I'm going to put them back in."
No, I think that the voters that already had them in are going to move them up, and that when other voters are running out of spots, they're going to look at all the standings and they're just going to look for 2 lost teams.
I'm going to say that Texas, Kentucky, Notre Dame, and Florida State all stand a better chance of being ranked ahead of Cincinnati, as does Baylor.
I've got Texas at 19. I think they jumped the line with the win against Kansas State.
So do I. But I'm just saying those teams I would give a higher chance of being ranked tomorrow than Cincinnati.
I've got Notre Dame making a splash at 18. 3-loss team break. What
That high?
you gonna put them behind Liberty?
In a pick six?
You're gonna put
Yeah, I'd have them like 22, 23.
yeah, but I'm saying, are you going to really put Liberty ahead of Notre Dame?
I don't know.
I mean, Liberty only has 1 loss. Notre Dame has what, 4, 3, something like that? Probably 3.
The Fighting Irish have a very difficult profile to balance because they have wins against Clemson, North Carolina, and Syracuse, but also losses to Marshall and Stanford. And the question is, do you look at the losses or the fact that they're 6-1 in their last 7?
The way you said that made like it sounded like you were actually the voice of the committee.
Boo court.
Like your delivery there was great. Yeah.
Man, if Notre Dame's 18, I just on Poll Assassin on Monday, I want to do a most fraudulent top 20 team so we can all just yell Notre Dame.
Yeah, like that's they have a good defense and a terrible offense.
Kansas State has 3 losses. Texas has 3 losses. Like they're
back in.
The bottom of the poll is going to churn.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to churn with 3 lost Power 5 teams.
Which fan base will be the most angry about being unranked on Monday?
Cincinnati.
No, Cincinnati fans are not going to get that angry.
Baylor.
Maybe Baylor, because Baylor, listen, I was going to save this one for the Big 12, but they had a banger of a game that I only tuned into late. But it seemed like it was awesome.
It was a fun game, yeah.
I didn't catch much of it. Okay, elsewhere in the rankings, let's see. Big movements. Yeah, I think that's about it because we still have USC in action, still have UCLA in action. That creates a little bit of a logjam in the middle. Utah, Penn State, North Carolina all held serve. Tulane held serve. So it's a total crapshoot basically from 19 to 25. And then up at the top, how high will LSU go? It's the biggest question.
Did you say how far you had Alabama falling?
8.
So only 2 spots.
Yeah, I've got them ahead of Clemson, even as a 2-loss team. But, Clemson
You have them over Oregon?
Yes. No, I've got Oregon. No, I've got Oregon ahead of LSU, ahead of Alabama. So it's like Tennessee at 5, Oregon at 6, LSU at 7, Alabama at 8, Clemson 9, USC 10, depending on how things go.
I don't know. Like I guess I could sit here and say that Alabama's not played like a top 10 team throughout the year, but then you're going to say, all right, who has? And it's a great counter by you. So I'm not going to say that.
You've already advanced to that part of the story.
3 moves ahead, bro.
Yeah, we can wrap this segment and just keep it moving. Have we gone 5 to 8 minutes? Are we good?